Cogito ergo sum by John Foster West. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Greg Marguerite. Cogito ergo sum by John Foster West. A warped instant in space, and two egos are separated from their bodies and lost in a lonely abyss. I think, therefore I am. That was the first thought I had. Of course, not in the same symbols, but with the same meaning. I awakened, or came alive, or came into existence suddenly. At least my mental consciousness did. Here I am, I thought, but what am I? Why am I? Where am I? I had nothing to work with except pure reason. I was there because I was not somewhere else. I was certain I was there, and that was the extent of my knowledge at the moment. I looked about me. No, I reasoned about me. I was surrounded by nothingness, by black nothingness, a vacuum. Immense distances away I could detect light, or rather, I could perceive waves of force passing around me which originated at points vast distances away, vast in relation to my position in the nothingness. There were waves of force all about me, varying in frequency. The nothingness was alive with waves of force traveling parallel and tangential to each other without seeming to interfere with one another. I measured them, differentiated between them, and finished with the task in a matter of seconds. How could I do it? It was one of the capabilities I was created with. What was I? I perceived the waves of force. I perceived great quantities of mass, solid, liquid, gas, whirling in vacuum, mass built up out of patterns of basic force. I searched my own being, analyzed myself. I was not gas. I was not solid. I was not even force. Yet I existed. I could reason. I was a beginning, a sudden beginning, and I had duration because I knew that time had elapsed since the moment I awakened, though I had no means of telling how much time or even naming the period. Could I really be pure reason? Can reason exist? Can rational entity exist without a groundwork of matter, or at least of force? It could. It must. I was rational entity, and I existed, yet I could find nothing of force, nothing to occupy space about myself. For all I could ascertain, I might have covered a one-dimensional point in eternity, or I might have been spread throughout vast distances. From this reasoning I concluded that rational entity might occur either as some force unlike that of all natural phenomenon in space, or as some combination of these forces at the moment beyond my own power to analyze, even detect. I finished with that for the time being. How did I come into being? I discarded the question as unanswerable temporarily. What was I before that instant I suddenly reasoned cogito ergo sum? I could not say. How did I know I even existed, really? Obviously because I was capable of rational thought, but what was thinking? First it was perceiving and accepting my own existence. Beyond that it was recognizing the dark nothingness around me and the forces it contained. I had to exist. But how did I know nothingness was right, and how did I know its darkness was right? And how did I know the waves of force were waves and force? And how did I know matter was matter, and that I was none of these things? Symbols, I reasoned. I'm thinking in symbols. I could not reason without symbols. Therefore I could not exist as I am without symbols to think with. Yet whose symbols were they? Where and how did I come by them? I could think back clearly to the instant of my creation, yet I had not invented the symbols in the interim of my existence, nor had they been given to me. What then? They were part of me when I came alive in this universe, had been invented some other time and elsewhere by someone else, or by what I was before I became the entity of reason I now was? Then that first flash of perception in the nothingness was not spontaneous. There was something behind it. I was something before that moment, in another era of time, perhaps a creature of substance. But what? I concentrated. I
Sample complete. Ready to continue?